Coming to you from the TheEoNProject studios, overlooking the vast, pristine acreage of Primrose Village. Greetings from this hidden gem of the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay.
That was a little muted there, your intro.
Muted?
Yeah, did you know? It's early.
It is early. It's early for us today.
Yeah,
I have my morning voice.
The early morning drive time show.
My bedtime voice.
That's a good voice you got there.
Hey, if I talk like this?
No, not that one.
Oh.
Welcome to another edition of the TheEoNProject, where we do things and try to make you laugh and all that good stuff.
Hey, Mike.
What's going on?
What are you up to on this glorious day?
Well, it is a nice day in the summer.
Yep.
July.
What July what? July 13th?
Guess what today is?
Oh, it's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, the famous triskaidekaphobia day.
Oh, I'm so scared of 13.
A day where everyone is scared for literally no reason that they can cite.
No
For
particular reason.
For some reason, it's considered unlucky. And you know, we weren't planning on doing this, but discussing quickly the Friday the 13th movies.
Yes, most people think that's where it comes from.
That's where most people think it comes from.
Well, obviously, way before that.
That came from before that. And I don't think we're going to discuss, the origins of Friday the 13th today. But most people associate Friday the 13th with the movies. Mm-hmm. And I thought the movies were terrible. Did you like those movies when you were growing up?
Well,
it was like one of those forbidden things.
I did for two reasons. One, because they were, it was that time in your life where you're young and you're easily frightened. Mm-hmm. So we'd get together as youths would, and we'd watch them. Plus, the main character in the movie had my name, so I could relate.
Yes, that's true. And then you know what? We are going to talk about during our halftime program today a horror movie theme game. Which I will reveal to you later. You don't know anything about what I'm going to do.
I don't. I'm scared.
We have a very fun game that's going to happen at the halfway point.
I'm scared as a young boy.
And then before we get into let's tease the topic for the day.
Tease it.
So today we are going to be discussing, and you know what? Today may be considered one of our more controversial episodes, because what we're going to do is we're going to delve into the world of paranormal investigations, but not necessarily in the way that you think we're going to. We're going to be very, very critical today of certain aspects of paranormal investigation, the way that it goes on, and things that happen. And we have a lot of personal experience with folk in that arena, if you will.
And we'll explain a little bit more here coming up.
We're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about some of the high-tech gadgetry that's used in paranormal investigations. We're going to talk about what they supposedly do, and then what they actually do, and then what we think about what they do.
That's right.
If that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense to me.
We're going to get into all that today. Last week we discussed QAnon, the QAnon phenomenon. It was a very popular show. It had a lot of new listens. And I know you mentioned it, I think, in a previous episode, that you have stopped looking where folk are listening from.
Well, I had to.
I pulled it up, and I would like to say, welcome on to our newest.
Yep.
Which I don't think that's the way I don't think that's how you say it there. But South Africa has been listening.
That's right.
We've got some listeners in South Africa, some more in Europe.
Hey, a friend of mine, a coworker, if you will, just came back from South Africa.
Is that right?
He went on a South African safari adventure.
Ooh.
And, it was quite interesting. He talked a little bit about it to me.
Was he, killing animals, or was it like a photo safari?
Yep.
Oh, was it his actual safari?
It's an actual safari, because, and if there's any animal lovers out there, don't worry.
No.
It's a reserve specific to this sort of thing. It's not like he was out there poaching the last white rhino on Earth.
Right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I went on a safari once, and as soon as I brought out my rifle, I was told to leave, because Disney World doesn't allow.
You can't hunt?
No.
You can't hunt there.
They frown upon that.
They have some good...
At the Kilimanjaro safaris at Animal Kingdom.
Oh, I see. So
not allowed to do that.
It's like a simulated African adventure.
Yeah. I thought we were going to bag a couple of rhinos and maybe some gorillas or something.
You've bagged a couple of rhinos in your day, haven't you?
Maybe I have.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so that's what we talked about QAnon, very popular episode. A lot of strange stuff with that. And a lot of strange things, with a lot of strange things happening in government right now. We're not going to get into that today, but it was a very interesting show. A lot of good feedback from it. So.
I'd like to thank you for bringing me a hot beverage today, and I notice you're rattling your cubes
here we go.
again.
Listen to this. On a hot day such as this, I want to briefly discuss a new beverage that I have discovered.
Cubes.
These are cubes. So, as you all know, as you may know, Dunkin' Donuts, the wonderful purveyors of fine coffees and donut pastries, is always coming up with new and exciting products. They're always coming up with something exciting and new.
Right.
And maybe a year or two ago, they came up with something called the Cold Brew, which is a iced coffee which is steeped for 12 hours, supposedly, in the Dunkin' Donuts Frigidaires.
Oh, how do you brew coffee cold? Doesn't it have to be
I don't know how you do it,
heated?
but the magicians at Dunkin' Donuts have found a way.
Ah.
In any case, the cold brew was really good.
Mm-hmm.
However, in an effort to top themselves, they have. And if they've come up with something called the brown sugar cold brew, which I am enjoying today. It's a brown sugar cold brew, black.
Okay.
And essentially what they do is they take the cold brew and they steep it and infuse it with brown sugar throughout the 12-hour overnight process.
I see.
So it's got a very mild brown sugar hints.
Are you sure it's real brown sugar
No,
and not
I don't know
flavorings
I don't
of
know.
some kind?
I don't know what it is, but it's delicious.
So it spikes your insulin levels.
If it was socially acceptable, I would be bathing in this.
Do you have the Beatus?
I don't have the Beatus, no.
No? That's good.
This, you know what? If you drank enough of this, you probably would get the Beatus.
You probably would.
But I didn't add any sugar, so I'm not sure.
You didn't add sugar?
No.
But there's some sort of sugar flavoring going on.
No, it's steeped in brown sugar. I just
What does
told
that
you
mean, steep?
It sits in it. You know what steeping
Steep?
is?
No,
You
steep
drink
is like the
tea, you
top
know
of the
what this thing
mountain.
is.
Steep.
No, you know what tea is? You put tea in a bag and it
That's
puts
not
in the...
steeping.
Yes, it is. When you make a cup of tea, you put it in a bag and it sits in the hot water. It steeps.
That's it's infusing itself into
Yes,
the
that's
water.
what steeping is, you momo.
Oh, whatever.
All right.
Let's get into the topic before people lose it.
Yeah, why don't you go?
All right. So, this is a paranormal themed show, but as Mike stated earlier, it's not the typical paranormal themed show. And the reason we're doing this, we're not trying to ruffle any feathers here. Although we may.
Yes.
We consider ourselves skeptical believers here on the program. And we've talked about that before, right?
Yes.
So Mike and I believe in the paranormal. We believe in strange events, strange things that happen throughout the universe, unexplained things. However, you have to take them with a little bit of skepticism, because what happens is people will lie.
Of course.
They will make stuff up, and that's the problem with the paranormal, and that's why mainstream science doesn't really get into it, is because it's not it can't be proven by the scientific method,
right.
Which is you test something, you prove, and you can prove it.
We're
going to
repeat
it over and over again.
We're going to get into that later, specifically about science. But anyway.
So that's why it's a difficult thing to discover. Number one, when you're going out on these investigations, because it's not a repeatable series of events. So you hope to catch something, and we have caught stuff. And believe it or not, there are things out there that we just don't understand.
Correct, but we don't know what they are. And I think what a lot of people are turned off by so-called paranormal investigators, and I'm going to talk about that for just a moment, if I may, because I have a question for you. What's an investigator, Jason?
Well, an investigator is a person or persons who is going out and looking into the truth of an event.
No, it's an alligator wearing a vest. An investigator.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
No, but you're right. So for many, many years now, large amounts of people who have had interest in the paranormal, specifically ghosts, have anointed themselves as quote-unquote investigators. They love to call themselves that, and they put it on business cards, and they do all that, But to me, being an investigator entails more than just you coming up with a fancy-sounding name and proclaiming to be an expert in something. To me, it means that you're, like you said, you're somebody that's looking into a matter, and you approach it in an impartial manner. Would you say that that's probably something that you need to have?
I mean, ideally speaking, that's what you need in an investigation.
Sure.
You can't be biased one way or the other.
No, you can't go into it looking into a matter with a preconceived notion about what you're going to find, because you'll be tainting the results of your investigation. Right?
And you don't want to do anything with your taint.
No. Many people who are actually real-life investigators who've earned that title through years of professional work, whether it's in law enforcement, the public sector, private investigations, or whatever, would take offense to these people calling themselves investigators because, and we've had experience with some of these people, they put LED lights on their head and they go traipsing on our graveyard, they call themselves an investigator. That doesn't make you anything, it makes you stupid. But, so I just wanted to get that out there about the term that people throw around loosely. Right. I'm an investigator. No, you're a moron.
Right. And Mike and I ourselves, we've had some positive and some negative experiences with this sort of thing. So, going back many moons ago, we decided to take upon the adventure of putting one of these groups together.
And I think we approached it in a way of, because we had real world investigative experience and in the areas of criminal investigations and so on. And so to bring some of those principles to bear in the paranormal world, we thought would be an interesting exercise. But what we encountered was some folks who took some liberties with the truth, if you will, and with great frequency.
That's right. And that ends up being part of the problem, is that once you tell one lie in a situation like that, your credibility goes out the window.
Yeah, and when you first get into this, and I know some people who listen to this program probably are part of these paranormal groups or whatever, what have you, and that's fine if that's that's what you like to do. And but like you said, the cost of admission is integrity,
right?
And once you do something that questions your integrity, then nothing you do from there on will mean anything. And very soon after meeting some of these people, you start finding out that a lot of what they're doing is self-serving, looking for publicity. And when we got into this, which was in the late 2000s, the paranormal industry was booming. The TV shows were big, Ghost Hunters was huge, and everybody was starting their own group, and it was all a lot of posturing and I don't know what you said.
Well, if you look back at the Ghost Hunters program itself, they ended up shooting their own selves in the foot and destroying their credibility as well, because the program, like as Mike stated, was the height of its popularity, early to mid 2000s. Those guys were all over the place. They had several spin-off TV shows, but then they went ahead and tried to do something. They did, I think it was a live program that they did, and they were caught red-handed. Yep. Faking evidence.
Yeah, I think it was a chair that moved, but they had like a rope attached to it.
There was some other things,
something like that.
And once that happens,
that's it, man.
Forget it. Well, you're done.
And I think I'm not going to quote him, but I know that I think Jason is the other Jason who was in charge of that program. One of the head guys had said when they first started doing the show, it was very boring. There wasn't a whole lot going on because in real life, not a lot happens when you go into these supposed haunted locations. And it's not very, it wouldn't be TV friendly, so they had to spice it up,
of course,
for television. And then what you get is a bunch of people that are creating things,
and it continues to this day. What's the one with the big meathead guy?
I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Yeah,
all right, okay.
That's going to be the Ghost Adventures or whatever the heck it's called, with that big guy with the huge arms.
Yeah.
He's got
Bilbo Baggins.
He's got Popeye arms,
something like that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
But anyway, so we had our own group. We had ran into some credibility issues there.
Not with our group. Not with us personally.
Not with us, not Mike and I, ourselves.
But some people within it.
People within the group, unfortunately, who will remain nameless at this time.
But it's too bad because I think some of the people, I think they start off with great intentions. But like you said, a lot of it was trying to get the next television program or the next good website or whatever. And it's not a popularity contest. It shouldn't be. But
so we ended up getting backstabbed.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was great fun.
We disbanded and decided to leave. And then some of the members went on and went ahead and started their own group, hoping for fame and fortune, and nothing happened.
Petered out, unfortunately.
That's exactly right. So that's basically giving a little background on that. So truth, credibility, obviously those are things that are very important in any investigation.
Sure.
So I think we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things.
Yeah. So one of the things that, and this is within the last, 15 years or so, there's been a lot more emphasis on using high-tech gadgetry and technology to investigate ghostly activity, most specifically. And more of these things are becoming available as technology becomes more advanced and cheaper. More access has been granted to normal folk. And some of the paranormal investigative groups have been using some of these devices that we're going to talk about. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the device is, what it supposedly does, and then what the results of using it are. Some of these things we've used ourselves, and some of them we've seen.
You've used some of these devices on yourself.
I have. Yeah, we're not going to talk about some of the electrified ones.
Oh.
But that's for another day. One of the first things that I want to talk about today. Have you ever heard of a full spectrum camera?
Yes.
Okay. Full spectrum cameras are cameras that are specially designed to be able to capture visible and near infrared light. Mm-hmm. So pictures taken with this type of camera reveal more of the light spectrum and therefore produce more vivid photographs with a lot of detail that's not really possible with regular cameras. Also, shadows in darker areas are enhanced when normally you would only see, like a shadow. You can actually see what's in the shadow. Use of full spectrum photography, users usually include fine art, geology, forensics, law enforcement. All those industries use full spectrum cameras in their work. And some people who do paranormal investigations use it. In ghost terms, people think that ghosts may appear, or spirits or whatever, may appear in pictures taken with this type of camera because according to some theories, ghosts are visible in the IR or UV spectrum,
right, and
not in regular spectrum. So therefore, using this type of camera will increase the odds of spotting paranormal entities. Now, so-called investigators, a lot of them have one of these cameras. They cost a lot. They're not cheap.
Sure.
And they talk about them incessantly. And they think that this is like the most wonderful thing that's ever existed. we've had some personal experiences with these cameras, and I can't ever remember seeing anything that wasn't nothing that you couldn't explain away. And again, a lot of groups use them, and they'll say, "Hey, look at this shadow." I'm like, "Okay,
yeah,
that's wonderful." But
a common theme too with all these bits of technology and equipment. Sometimes people don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they're for or how they're using them.
Right. Well, and
how to interpret the results.
There's so many devices and gadgets and stuff. We're not going to talk about all of them today because we wouldn't have time. But like you said, these groups, a lot of them will amass these things, and then they'll go, "Okay, Billy, you take the trifold meter and go run a scan." Well, what is Billy looking for?
Right.
He's looking for baseline readings of what?
Right.
What is his experience with, because I'm not an electrician, so I can't tell you what's normal, as far as EMF readings, as far as what could be causing spikes in electromagnetic energies.
Right.
What could be causing temperature fluctuations. I can't tell you all those things, and none of these people can tell you either.
And here's the thing, too, is like if you're out there and you're trying to measure and record minute fluctuations in the environment, should you be tramping around smoking cigarettes?
Yeah, that's a
and
common
popping
one.
natty ices and all this other stuff.
Oh well, that's we didn't talk about that, but professionalism in investigation is a lot of times gets thrown out the window by some of these groups. Like we said, I mean, I remember going to one where one of the lead investigator, well, like you said, was drinking natty ice like it was going out of style and smoking bunches of cigarettes, and they all go, "Oh, let's go in the haunted house." Nope. Well, I don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't work that way. So full spectrum cameras, I don't know. The jury's out on that one. But that's probably the least controversial one that I'm going to discuss.
Okay.
So this next one, and this is what I'm anxious to hear your opinion, because you don't know what I'm going to talk about. There's something that's called the ghost box.
Ghost box. I've seen this.
Okay. There's many different variations of this one, but and they go by a lot of different names. But in essence, the ghost box is a device that will scan radio stations rapidly.
Ooh.
The theory is that entities will somehow manipulate radio waves and produce coherent words or phrases in response to questions that you ask. So basically what they do is they turn this on. It starts, how like when you do Seek on the radio?
I was going to mention that. That used to be a fun game that we could play, but we can no longer play it.
Why is that?
Like, when you're in a car and you're on a road trip, you hit the Seek button.
Oh, yeah.
And then the song comes up and you have to guess what it is right away.
Yeah.
And if you guess it quickly, you win.
Why can't you play that?
Because all the songs, they come up on the little digital screen. It
tells
you who it is.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And what the song is. It's no fun.
But anyway, the ghost box doesn't stop on a station. It just keeps going.
Right.
So essentially what they do is they'll turn this thing on. It starts going, as it goes through all the different stations. And they ask questions. And supposedly the ghosts or spirits or whatever can utilize those radio waves and produce a response to your question. So every once in a while you hear a word like, meh, and then they'll go, "Oh, see? This is a direct response to what I just..." That is complete nonsense, in my opinion. Of course you're going to hear phrases
you are
and
gonna
words.
Hear something, but it gets even more outlandish than that, because sometimes, I don't know what they're doing or how they're manipulating it, but it'll actually, you go, what are you doing here, ghost? And it'll be like, I died making flapjacks. And you're like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I think you're talking about just outright fakery.
Yeah.
But to me, these people that turn it on, they go, "Oh, did you hear that? It said Bill." And you're like,
"Oh.
So?" And they go, "Oh, well, Bill must have died here." And it requires a lot of jumping to conclusions and reading into everything that of course you're going to hear words and phrases. You're listening to tons of radio stations at the same time. People are talking, they're hearing song lyrics,
and you already have you're already subconsciously predisposed to hearing something.
Well, we've talked on this show, I think, before about matrixing, and when you think you're going to see something, you see it.
Yeah.
If you go into it, like we talked about preconceived notions, if you think you're going to see something, generally you do. So that's the ghost box. Complete nonsense, in my opinion.
Okay.
But you can buy them. This next one is very, very interesting to me.
Okay.
It's called the Boo Buddy.
The Boob Buddy?
The Boo Buddy.
Oh, Boo Buddy.
It's a stuffed bear that houses a few different tech devices.
I had a stuffed bear as a child that I was very close to.
Did you violate it? So it's a stuffed bear that houses a lot of different tech devices, such as a motion sensor, temperature changes, temperature thermometers and stuff like that, and an audio recorder.
Is this supposed to entice the spirits of children?
That's correct. So here's what you do.
That's kind of interesting.
You put it in a room and you leave it. So it's basically like a passive investigation tool.
Sure.
And if something touches it, it'll go, that tickles, so you know that something touched it.
Oh, I like that.
If the temperature changes, it says, I'm cold or I'm hot. Okay?
That's a nice voice.
You like that? Mm-hmm. And the EMF meter is in there and stuff. And in addition to all those things, it will randomly ask questions out loud.
Oh.
So it's randomly looking for EVP evidence.
Can you buy these things?
As a matter of fact, you can buy them.
How much are they? I'm going to get one for my son for Christmas.
This one costs $160.
And I'm not going to tell him. I'm just going to put it in his room.
Would you spend $160 on something
I
like
would.
that?
It sounds very entertaining.
And as you said before, very incisively, it's designed as a teddy bear to entice young spirits or ghosts to play with it.
Ooh.
Now, my thing is, how the hell do you know if it's cold or hot or if it's something... What if it's just randomly doing those things? Is this a scientific device or is it a play
Well,
toy?
there's a lot of... they put the electronics in there.
Yeah?
And it's scientific.
Just because it has electronics doesn't mean it's scientific, Jason.
Well, it could be.
I don't buy the Boo Buddy.
You don't like Boo Buddy?
No.
It's got a cool name, though. Who invented that? Do you know?
You know what? I did find the name, but I'm not going to tell it because I don't remember.
Oh, you don't want to give him any credit?
No, but I do have... This last one that that's the Boo Buddy.
Okay.
The last one that I have is actually the longest piece that I have.
Oh. You have a long piece?
Right now I do.
Okay.
Because I'm with you. So this one is probably the most strange one that I've run across, and it's maybe the most controversial as well. It's called the Ovulus. Have you ever heard of this thing?
Yes, it's a device that your wife gets into when she's looking to get pregnant, and it stimulates her.
No, but that would be a good idea for that. That's a good. Yeah, the Ovulus. So this one is a device that purports to be able to take energy from the environment and translate it into words, which is supposedly coming from ghosts.
Oh, so just energy in the ether?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you do is you turn this little box, looks like like an old iPod.
Yep.
Kind of like bigger boxy thing. And you turn it on, and according to proponents of the device, spirits influence it somehow, and it produces words that are relevant to the place where you are, or messages that the other side wants to communicate. However, it just comes out as a word, or sometimes a couple of words, and it comes out in a robotic voice that sounds like one of those old speak and spells, like it goes, like that.
Letter A.
Letter A.
Letter B.
No, it's even more robotic than that.
Oh.
Yours sounds like yours sounds like the one where it says, they spin the little thing and it says, the dog says, woof, woof, woof.
Cow says,
yeah, that one.
Moo.
That was good.
Thanks.
Anyway, so the Ovulus, as I said before, I looked into some supporters of this device, and I watched some videos, and I read some reviews, and this thing is really bizarre. So when you're looking at it in action, it'll say things like mother or kid or like just random. It just
spouts out random words.
Random words, all sorts of randomness. So there's major problems with this. Number one, the thing comes programmed with around 500 words. That's it. So it's only going to say one of those 500 words, and just that. So how is that indicative to what you're doing? It's not just randomly generating any word. It's only randomly generating one of these 500 words.
That would be impressive if that was the case. If it just randomly, it wasn't programmed to say anything specifically.
Sure. So doesn't it defeat the whole purpose though? If you can. Well, then one of the other controversial parts of this, some of the versions of the Ovulus, you can program it yourself to say whatever you want.
Oh.
So you can hook it up to your computer, you can have it say, demon, devil, kill you, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of the whole thing if it's just going to say the words that you just put into it?
Well, as playing devil's advocate here, the spirit is summoning and pulling which word it wants it to project.
That's stupid.
Oh.
So there's people that swear this thing is real. Many paranormal groups have purchased them from a site called Digital Dowsing. These things are around $350.
Okay.
And they've been used on various ghost TV shows. Now there's some problems with the device.
We need to invent something. We need to get like a life-size, like a pleasure doll.
Blow-up doll, yeah.
And put some devices in it.
Paranormal Patty.
Not our own devices, others' devices.
Some of the thing. Anyway, the creator of this device, and here's where I find this to be completely interesting. The creator of this device is a guy by the name of Bill Chappell. And he was approached recently, I think it was last year or the year before, by Popular Mechanics. You're familiar with Popular Mechanics?
Yeah, it's a good magazine.
It's a very reputable scientific magazine. And they were doing a piece about paranormal high-tech equipment. Bill would not do an interview for them. However, and this is pulled right from the Popular Mechanics article. Quote, Bill Chappell also supplies most of the gadgets for Travel Channel's popular paranormal reality show Ghost Adventures. That's the one with Zach Bagans. And he's one of the most prolific developers of devices in the paranormal field. And because of his close association with the Ghost Adventure show, he's respected within the community. Chappell declined an interview request. Zach Bagans, the lead investigator of Ghost Adventures, originally did agree for an interview with Popular Mechanics, but changed his mind after communicating with Chappell. However, his was the most interesting to me. Chappell did explain his views on the paranormal in a blunt email to Popular Mechanics that said, quote, I do not believe in ghosts or spirits.
Oh.
Okay. The inventor says he's built hundreds of devices and performed countless experiments over the last decade trying to understand the phenomenon of EVPs and instrumental transcommunications. The unmistakable conclusion, he wrote, it's us. We are the ghosts. So, what does that tell you? He himself, the person who invented this device, doesn't believe in ghosts.
Okay.
So, what?
So if he doesn't believe in ghosts and he doesn't know what he's trying to... Like, yeah, exactly. I mean, how does he...
What are you paying for?
Where's he coming up with the idea or the technology or the method for some of these devices?
Because to me, that just proves right there that it's nothing. It's a random voice generator, and you're paying $350 for people to pretend that they're talking to ghosts.
Yeah. So I mean, with that said, obviously, you know, as we stated earlier, we're not trying to, when anything we talk about, we're not trying to rattle anybody's beliefs. Or you may yourself have some experience with some of these devices, and if you do, feel free to share them with us because we'd like to share your stories out there. We're not going to ridicule you. Maybe some of these things actually do have some credibility and do work. Yeah. I personally have never had any experience with any of those. Is there anything else you wanted to add about that?
No, I just wanted to say that, and it's just the obvious is a microcosm of the whole paranormal investigation movement for me, because it requires you to make assumptions and leaps in, it said mother, that means the mother died here and the mother is speaking to me through this box.
Right.
Where they're just making all that up, basically.
So with that said, and we've had some experience with EMF meters, some photographic equipment, things of that sort. And to me, I think the greatest bit of equipment things that we've ever experienced on is a very just simply just a handheld digital voice recorder.
Yeah, I mean the most compelling quote-unquote evidence we've ever seen or heard has been on a very simple device, just a voice recorder, because it's difficult to... It's not high-tech, really. I mean, it's recording what's happening in the environment, and we were sitting there or knew that there were... Let's say, for instance, and this has happened a couple of times, it happened during when we were looking into supposedly haunted places, where there would be a lady's voice saying something and there were no women there. And we know that because we were sitting right there.
And you know, some will say, well, you're just picking up interference in the environment. Well, I'll give you one specific example of a case that we went on. So our group at the time did an investigation in a home, an older kind of dilapidated home that was the documented site of a murder-suicide.
Yes, I remember that.
And it only happened within... a very short time,
like a year before,
of the time that we were in the home.
Right.
So the home hadn't been lived in. There was really nothing in the home.
Actually, that was creepy.
There was no electrical service to the home. They actually removed the panel completely.
That's right.
There was no and it was kind of in the country, so there wasn't really anything nearby. And you know, of course, we set up our recording equipment and things of that sort. And we got a lot of EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, that evening.
Yes.
And one in particular, which was very interesting. Once we sat down and reviewed the evidence, and we had to go and go over the evidence with the people that solicited us to do the investigation. And one of the people that solicited us was the sister of the female victim of this murder-suicide. And she got to listen to the EVPs, and she would, and obviously not prompted or preempted in any way, and we played these EVPs for her. Right. And she was very adamant that it sounded much like people that she knew, and the male voice that came across said, "I'm sorry about Dawn."
Yes.
And we didn't know the girl's name
at
the time.
That's right.
And it was a male voice saying that basically, and the sister thought that it was the male apologizing for killing her sister. So that was pretty powerful moment.
That one was, yes, and to add some credibility to that, and that person's husband was a police officer, if I remember correctly, who knew both parties, and he himself said that's the voice of
so-and-so,
the guy that did this,
the killer.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting case, and again, that would be one where we would say, is that evidence of spiritual communication? I don't know. To us, it probably seemed like it was, because it was something that we didn't know going into it, and and we were able to produce after.
So with all that said, I mean, most people are on a limited budget, but yet still have an interest in this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. If you don't have, the means to go out and buy some of this fancy equipment that is unproven, go out and just get yourself a decent digital recorder. And
that's how we started it.
Yeah, exactly, and do some work with that.
And you know what? And it hasn't happened in a few years because we haven't really been into that field. But for a long time, I would get questions from people. I think my house is haunted. What should I do? And the best advice that I would give people is start taking pictures of your house. Start taking pictures in and around your house.
Sure.
And sometimes stuff comes, and it's free. You don't pay for film anymore. I don't even know if you can buy film.
Yeah, I mean, straight digital photography. We've had some success with that as well.
Yep, audio recordings,
regular cameras.
Audio recordings, regular cameras. Mm-hmm. That would get most of your whatever evidence that you're looking for.
Exactly.
And you don't have to spend $350 on a device that says "Mother, Jason, smelly."
Some sort of stimulating device.
Stinky. But anyway.
All right.
Well, we have reached the halfway point of the show.
Halfway.
When we usually do something fun and exciting and break up the monotony of what is normally not a monotonous show. Usually a very exciting show.
Exciting.
So today, and we discussed briefly horror movies. We talked about it at the outset of the program. We talked about the Friday the 13th. And amongst all of moviedom, would you say that horror movies typically produce some of the most ridiculous plots of any type of movie? Would you say that that's probably accurate?
I would say because of the nature of it, they have liberty to do whatever the hell they want.
You can do whatever you want. And throughout the years, some of the more entertaining horror movies have been ones that have had kind of a strange plot.
Sure.
Right? Some things that are going on and that you can get away with in a horror movie that you can't get away with in other movies. Now, today we are going to play a game.
What's the game called? Does it have a name?
Yes, it's called Horror Movie Plots.
Oh, how long did it take you to think of that?
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
You interrupted me.
Oh, go ahead.
Horror Movie Plots, real or not.
Oh, it rhymes.
So, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you a very, very brief plot line of a horror movie.
Yep.
It's going to be on you to tell me if this is a real horror movie that was actually made or something that I made up myself.
Okay. Do I have to come up with the title of the movie?
No. You just have to tell me if it's real
or
not.
fake.
And if it is real,
I get bonus if I come up with the title?
Yeah, if you come up with the title of any of these, I will be astounded.
Okay.
So, and then afterwards, if it is a real movie, I'll tell you the name of the title of the movie and when it was made. And coincidentally, well, actually, no, we have quite a bit of cross-section of when these movies were made. But the 1980s specifically was a time where there was a lot of low-budget, crappy movies made, horror movies specifically. So, I'm just going to read you the very brief plot line. You have to tell me if it's real or not.
Go.
A man suspects his wife of adultery and goes on a killing spree, eliminating all he believes are sleeping with her. But his victims don't stay dead.
Fake.
That's real. It's called Killing Spree, 1987.
It had a sexual twist, so I thought it was something you thought of.
You know me very well. Okay.
Who was in that? Anybody we know?
Oh, no. There's nobody that
These are all just low-budget things?
These are very low-budget movies.
Okay.
But they are real, and I did check them out to ensure the integrity of this program. Number 2. A group of teenagers find a mysterious cursed disco ball and find themselves dancing uncontrollably with no way to stop except when they die.
Ooh, I know that one. That's real. That's called John Travolta and his Band of Zombies.
That's made up. I made that one
up. Oh, good. We should look
at making
disco
that. Ball.
You should pitch that movie to a studio.
Well, I am in the Hollywood business. You know this. Okay, here we go. Number 3. A student moves into a rundown building in New York City. His bizarre neighbors make a concoction in their apartment that they call wine, but when he drinks it, he turns into a deformed, murderous monster.
That's real.
That is real. What's the title?
That's called The Wino and Me.
Slime City, 1988.
Oh, that was a good year.
Oh, so you got one right.
You got one right.
So you're 1 for 3. Okay, number 4. A bowling night turns deadly for a team of teenagers as a deranged serial killer is taking them down one by one.
Oh, 7-10 Split. That's the name of that, and that's real.
7-10 Split? That would be a great name for a movie. It's actually a real movie.
Yeah.
It's called Gutter Balls.
Oh, that's even better.
2008. So, you got another one right. Okay. A man awakes from a coma only to learn that the world as he knows it has ended, and the Earth is ruled by a group of evil, bloodthirsty postal workers.
That's real. It's called Cowboy Curtis. No, I don't know.
I made that one up.
Oh, you don't like postal workers, do
No.
you? They can be angry.
They're not as nice.
Is there
as...
anybody out there that works for the Postal Service?
They're not as nice as
Why are
they used to be.
Why are you so angry? You go in there, you try to...
pretty easy job.
You know, I don't go to the post office often, but
No.
sometimes I go in there, I try to mail something.
Yeah.
And they don't look at you, they don't smile,
Well,
they
know
don't
where
greet you.
The one in I live in a little town, and they're actually pretty nice. And when I go in there with my little one, they give her like a sticker. One time they gave her a Beanie Baby.
Oh, because they fell off the back of a truck and
They
they
probably
found
stole it from somebody else.
Swept it up off the shop floor.
Okay, so I'm not sure how many you got right. Did you get one right?
I got one.
1 out of 5. Okay, this is the last one. Ready?
Yep.
A street sweeper who cleans up after grisly accidents brings home a full corpse for him and his wife to enjoy sexually. But he's dismayed to find that his wife prefers the corpse over him.
That's a tough one. It's another sexual one. I'm going to say fake.
That's real. It's called Necromantic.
Oh.
1987. And this one was so good they had a sequel. Necromantic 2.
Necromantic 2?
Yep.
Like TOO? Like also? Or TWO?
No, I think it was Necromantic, just the number 2.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do so good there.
You're like, no, you got 1 out of 6.
There was some good plots. It was creative.
As you know, the horror movies can be about anything.
Yeah.
And some of them are just completely ridiculous.
You remember the movie from the 80s, Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
I do. Well, I don't like clowns generally.
I think to kill them, you had to shoot them in the nose or
You
something.
had to shoot them in their big bulbous red nose.
Yeah, it was scary.
And then glitter came out.
That's right.
It did have a hot chick in it, though. I forget her. I don't
remember
I
the
don't
chick
know her
too
name,
much.
but she was a very comely young lady.
I think that's why I was traumatized by clowns to this day.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Well, they weren't scary clowns though. They were like these
Yeah, but
big,
they're goofy. It was
goofy
creepy
looking.
still.
And you know what? Actually, that movie, to kill you, they put you in a big cotton candy cocoon.
That's right.
And they hung you up by a candy cane. And then I don't know, like, did you just die of starvation or something in there?
I don't know. They came back later like an arachnid.
They would come back and suck the blood out of you.
That's right. They'd suck you. You know, spiders
Well,
don't.
you're going the weird place with that one.
Spiders actually they don't eat dead prey. You know that, right?
Well, no.
They paralyze
it, right?
their victims and cocoon them, and they just sit there while their guts, and then they suck the guts out.
You know, I heard an interesting thing about bugs the other day. Actually, just yesterday, I was speaking to a listener of the program about something else. He's a friend, and he's a big chicken farmer. Well, he's not a chicken farmer, but he has a lot of chickens.
He has a lot of poultry.
He does like a normal job, but he has a lot of chickens. And he told me that the chickens eat lots of bugs in your yard, ticks, ants.
Yeah, they forage around.
Yeah, but to me that's great because number one, they take care of all the nasty bugs and whatnots.
Yeah,
and
but
then
you know
they produce delicious eggs for you.
Yeah, but you know what they attract though?
No.
Rats and mice.
Oh, I don't
get
know
in
about
there,
that.
To get in their little coops and stuff because they will eat the scraps that the chickens eat.
So the chicken's not going to
don't
eat a rat.
No.
No. What do? They just run away from the rat? What about the rooster? Isn't it the rooster's job to protect the hens? Doesn't he go out there and kill the mice?
Yeah, you know, the rooster, he runs the roost, if you will.
Yeah, anyway.
And you like chickens?
I do enjoy chicken.
Do you enjoy chicken, like chicken dishes?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course I like chicken.
Do you?
Everybody likes chicken. Who doesn't like chicken?
You don't have a problem eating meat then?
No, I like meat.
Do you?
I'm a meat man.
You know what I don't like? And this goes to kind of something we're talking about too, is that people that get wrapped around or they become almost like they're involved in a cult.
Yep.
And veganism tends to be that way. And I'm not disparaging anybody. If
right.
We never disparage anyone. We never judge people by.
I called people morons earlier.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You want to live your life the way that you want to. That's fine. I mean, everybody has their own personal preferences and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. I choose to be an omnivore, which is what humans were designed to do. And there can be arguments against that or for that, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I eat meat and vegetables and all kinds of random nuts and things.
Nuts and berries.
If you're a vegan, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't put me down because I like to eat meat.
That's the same thing.
Or preach your religion upon me.
The same. I was going to say the same thing as religion. So you could feel free to worship the sun and the trees or whatever you would like. It's none of my business. But when you start enforcing your beliefs on others, that's
these gluten-free people. Oh, how could you eat that? It has gluten in it.
I have a question about.
Do you even know what gluten is?
No, and this is a serious.
It's just a protein that binds food together. That's all it is.
This is a serious question. How come 30 years ago no one was allergic to peanuts, no one was allergic to gluten,
nope.
No one was allergic to most of the stuff that people... Why is that?
Because we're overly sensitive now.
But why?
And
there has to be a reason.
Well, it's just society as a whole, for some reason. And people get hooked into this stuff. They're like, oh, I must eat everything that is gluten-free.
Well...
Unless you have a gluten intolerance, which a very small segment of the population does.
Right.
Then you don't need to avoid gluten.
Right.
As long as you're not eating large pizzas 4 times a day, you're fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. Anyway.
But this is going to go something, it's going to tie right into something I'm going to talk about later.
A delicious segue.
But anyway, so we're getting into...
I want extra gluten.
Getting into credibility issues. And there's groups of people, there are individuals out there that proclaim to have supernatural powers. They proclaim to be paranormal investigator, the paranormal gods, if you will, of the field, experts of the field.
Yes.
But when you peel the layers back, much like an onion, you find that they're frauds.
Yes.
Unfortunately. And you don't want to say that about people.
I would say most people are frauds.
Most people in general?
No, most of the people who proclaim all those things that you just said.
So any of these people that I talk about, Mike, feel free to interject with any knowledge that you have of some of these folks. So the first two...
What are you doing over there?
Sorry, I'm heaving
because... What are you doing over there?
You brought me this coffee, and I think you did something to it. I think you put some sort of foreign substance in it.
Why do you heave every time you drink or eat something?
That's not true.
Gastrointestinal problems.
You know, I got a clean bill of health by the doc the other day.
Oh, yeah? Did he stick his finger way up inside you?
He did everything you could possibly do without me having to call the authorities.
And he didn't buy you a drink or nothing?
Nope. Oh. I'm an easy date. So anyway, let's talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, the Warren.
You've heard about them, right?
Have.
Ed died.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is Lorraine alive or she's
Lorraine is still kicking around,
is she?
I think.
She's going to be what, like 172?
She's pretty old.
So you may have heard of them. They were the gurus of the paranormal field, and they go back a long time.
Yes.
Many, many years. Actually, as a matter of fact, they started in 1952 when they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. And ever since then, they've been the go-to couple.
Oh, yes.
As far as investigations, famous cases are concerned.
Yes.
And if you are a student of the paranormal and you subscribe to these things, then you worship at the altar of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
That's it. You have to bow in reverence to them for some reason.
Right. And in a case that we were involved in, or not involved in, but we talked about a while back, which is the Amityville horror case, which everybody's familiar with, the movies and such.
We were not involved in that.
We weren't involved in it. Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in that.
Yes, they were.
And they're the ones that came up with the bizarre theory that it was built on an Indian burial ground, and that all these things were a result of demons taking hold of Rob DeFeo and ordering him to kill his family and things of that sort. And that's actually a common theme with them, is that they basically tell people... They suggest to people that they claim that it's demons that cause them to do something.
Right.
And then if they do get in trouble with the authorities, then to claim, that they're deficient, mentally deficient.
Yes.
And that's something
not at fault.
Exactly. But we talked to Rick Moran.
Yes.
Who was an investigator on that.
He was a journalist, yeah.
A journalist and an investigator on that case. And he said that it was all poppycock.
He did say that.
All the stuff that the Ed and Lorraine Warren were talking about.
Yes.
So another famous case.
Well, before you go, I'm sorry, you still on Ed and Lorraine?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say another famous case that was detailed in their book, which was the Devil in Connecticut. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Is that the one? Yes, I have heard of that.
It was basically a teenager named Arnie Johnson who murdered his landlord while possessed by demons.
Who doesn't want to murder their landlord?
Supposedly the demons, he inherited them from a little boy named David Glatzel. Oh. And David's, basically he was given an exorcism by the Warrens. So supposedly the Warrens gave this guy an exorcism and he passed his demons on to the other kid.
Right.
And the other kid killed the landlord. But David's brother, Carl, basically wound up suing the Warrens on the grounds that his brother was actually mentally ill and had a history of mental illness, and he wasn't possessed, and he actually needed help from a doctor. And because they were perpetuating this myth that he was possessed by demons, unfortunately, David never ended up getting getting the help that he needed from actual doctors because of that. So according to Carl, the Warrens promised his family that they'd become millionaires if they would insist that the boys had been plagued by demons instead of a completely treatable mental disorder. So as you can see, they're behind the scenes manipulating things.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that case. You mentioned the Amityville horror case. Now, the Amityville horror case, as we talked about in detail in a previous episode, has been proven to be false. The people who created the myth have said so. They came out and said, "We made this up. This is all made up."
Right.
But the Warrens had already gone out publicly and said that it was demon caused. So then what do you do from there? You can't really back down from that. So what they did was they just doubled down on it. And I'm not sure if you're going to talk about this later, but there's kind of a recurring theme with people who claim to be psychics.
Right.
In that they have kind of a perfect scam going on.
Right.
Because they'll tell you, oh, I can see this, and I can tell you this, and blah, blah, blah. But you can't prove one way or another
exactly
if they're right or wrong. So to them, they can just say, oh, no, I see demons in here.
Right.
You can't tell them that you don't, but you can't prove that they can. So
right,
it's a perfect scam.
So a gentleman by the name of Ray Garton, who is a horror author, worked with the Warrens, and he's quoted as saying that, he has stated that Ed has said, all the people who come to us are crazy. Just use what you can and make the rest up. Make it up and make it scary. That's why we hired you, basically, because he was helping them with with a movie based on The Haunting in Connecticut, I guess, supposedly.
Well, there was a movie called The Haunting in Connecticut. And actually,
right.
The Warrens, are you going to talk about the Conjuring case?
No, but you can. Go ahead.
So the Warrens are actually, you're familiar with the movie The Conjuring, and then there was The Conjuring 2, and then there was Annabelle, and these are all Ed and Lorraine Warren cases.
Yes.
The Conjuring movie, the first one, was actually very good. I thought it was a very good horror movie. It doesn't mean it's real, but it was a good horror movie. And supposedly the events took place in Rhode Island, in Harrisville in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But when you look at there was a book, and I think it was called House of Light and Shadow or something like that, by the person who lived there. The events that actually took place, that the homeowners claim took place, are nothing like the events in the movie, and are completely, exaggerated and everything. And that seems to be the modus operandi for the Warrens, is they'll take something that somebody said, like you said, we'll add some things, make it scary, and then we can sell it.
Right.
So to me, that's nothing but charlatanism. Is that a word? I just created it.
You have to say it like this. Charlatan.
You're a charlatan.
So, excuse me, I didn't mean to clear
Why did you just clear your
I didn't
throat?
mean to do that.
Dude, you're all sorts of problems over there.
You got problems.
No.
Hey, what do you think? Is this a problem? So I went to a cookout recently.
Uh-oh.
And the host of the cookout had several food items.
Okay.
All right.
This is a summer cookout.
This is a summer cookout. Just happened. Actually, it was a 4th of July party.
Okay.
They had New England clam chowder and a hot vat of chili.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this? Should you be eating hot things in the summertime?
No, and I'm gonna be a voice of contrarianism. Whoever hosted that party is completely wrong and erroneous. Now let me tell you why. Chili and New England clam chowder are wintertime foods. They are not to be consumed in the summertime.
You're partially right.
No, those are wintertime foods. They're hot, they are soupy, and they are designed to warm you up after a day of working in the fields or chopping wood or going out and gathering hay bales or whatever the heck you do in the fall times. They are not to be enjoyed in the summertime. Why would you eat such a hot thing in the heat of the summer?
Well, you're 50% right.
No.
I will agree with you that chili inherently is a hearty, hot, wintry dish.
Yeah, okay.
Best consumed on a snowy day watching a football game.
What is the difference between chili and New
No.
England
New England clam chowder is meant to be eaten in the summertime.
What are you talking about?
It's a summer dish.
It's hot and milky. You can't enjoy hot, milky things.
You go down to the water, you get the clam cakes, you throw the clam cakes to the seagulls, you overfeed them, they fall to the ground, they die.
No, you're wrong.
And you eat clam chowder.
New England clam chowder and chili are the same type of food.
You go down to the beach.
Hot, meaty stews that are to be enjoyed. You don't eat beef stew in the middle of July, do you?
No,
you eat it in the fall.
That's a winter food.
Okay, so
that's a winter food.
New England clam chowder.
No, it's not.
It's the same thing.
What do you go to the beach? You have seafood at the beach, don't you?
Just like lobster. I'm not going to enjoy lobster in this fall. Why not? Why can't I have lobster at Christmas time?
Why are you even arguing
this? Summertime food.
You can't even eat mollusks or shellfish
of
any kind.
I'm talking about other people. Other people
so
should
you don't
enjoy
even
them.
know. You don't even have first-hand experience.
Other people
with
should
this.
enjoy. I've eaten them before. Other people should enjoy them in the wintertime only. There should be no chili or New England clam chowder.
Nope.
Between Labor Day, Memorial Day and Labor Day.
What if you go to the local seafood shack by the ocean?
They should be closed.
They're going to have New England clam chowder to eat.
Well, they're wrong.
The red, the white, the clear, any kind you like.
Clear? The hell is clear chowder?
The clear chowder.
Was it made with Zima
or
something
just
like that?
Broth.
No.
It's clam broth.
There's no such thing
it's
as
clam broth.
Clam broth. What are you talking about?
Whatever. You're wrong. All right.
Anyway.
Let's shift gears slightly. We're going to leave Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, let's leave them in the dust.
We're going to go to somebody who... Ooh, that's refreshing. We're going to go to somebody who is more current. And we've seen her on the news. We've seen her on TV. Got her own TV show. She has a gigantic head of blonde hair that she uses as a paranormal microphone to talk to the dead. Her name is Theresa Caputo.
Oh.
You've heard of her, right?
Caputo.
The Long Island Medium?
The Long Island Medium, yes.
Yes. She can talk to dead people, you know.
Oh, she can?
Yes.
Okay.
She claims to have started when she was 4 years old and has been practicing mediumship for over 10 years, apparently. Mm-hmm. And she has a reality TV show on TLC network.
Probably not real.
Started in 2011. And she presumably is the most mainstream of the dead people talkers recently.
Well, wasn't there a guy named John Edwards? You can talk about him later.
So she's much like John Edwards.
Much like John Edwards, okay.
John Edwards was very famous years ago as well. I think he used to go on Oprah a lot or something.
He started on Oprah, I believe.
But they do this thing, it's called cold reading.
It's cold reading.
And basically what they do is they go out there, they're good at it.
Of course.
And they throw things out into the audience. And what you don't see on TV is all the mistakes that they're making.
Right, they don't show that.
You really only see you made one or two mistakes, but then you start seeing the hits, right?
Well, that's a technique, as you said, called cold reading, where people generally won't remember when you're wrong. They'll remember when you're right, and they try to make the connections for you.
Right.
So that whether consciously or unconsciously. So the cold reader will go out there, as you said, start throwing things out the audience, and what they're looking for, they're good at reading people's behaviors,
right.
Nonverbal behaviors, as some people are. And speaking of investigators and interviewers and interrogators, that's what they do. They're looking for subtle, body movements and facial movements and stuff. And they're looking for, I'm just throwing a whole bunch of crap out there. I'm looking for the person that reacts at it. Now I'm going to zero in on you because you're the one that, when I said Maria's a very common name.
Oh, I like Maria.
I have a very good friend named Maria.
Was she into ASMR?
Maria.
No.
Anyway, so as I said before, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail what you were saying. Go ahead.
No. Basically, what you can garner if you watch these shows, instead of watching the psychic, watch the audience reaction instead.
Right.
Because the camera will pan around, and you can actually see people's wheels turning in their brain,
yes,
trying to make the connection
because they want to
what she's saying, and then eventually you'll see a hand slowly kind of emerge from the crowd.
Right. It's not like an immediate. She doesn't like. She's not looking at 300 people and then walks out and picks one.
Right.
That's not how she does it.
Correct.
She's looking for, your response.
Right.
And you know what a mentalist is? You ever hear that term?
Yeah.
Okay. So recently I went to see a show, Criss Angel, Mindfreak.
Oh, what a great
First of all,
entertainer he is.
Very, very, I'm not going to talk about Criss Angel because he's great. Wonderful entertainer, wonderful magician. But there was a guy that, it's like an opening act for him.
Yes.
Who's a mentalist, and he does something. He doesn't claim to be a psychic. He doesn't claim to have any type of paranormal abilities, but he does exactly what you just said. And he comes out and he is looking for body movements. He's looking for facial, and he's an expert at that.
Right.
And so he looks like he has paranormal abilities, but he's just using what you're giving him.
So he's basically proving that the cold reading actually will work.
Of course, cold reading does work.
Right, and if you come off as saying you're psychic and you start making these connections, it looks impressive.
Sure.
All right, so let's jump to a gentleman called Peter Popoff. Have you ever heard of him?
No. Did he create Pop-Tarts?
No, but he's a televangelist and a faith healer.
Oh.
And these guys are probably worse, in my opinion. Those are the worst of the worst. Worse than Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yes.
And people like that because they're preying on somebody who has faith. Who has a faith in a religion and faith in God and all this stuff.
And is also usually sick or in need of something.
Exactly. So we're not trying to dispel or dismiss anybody's belief systems or anything like that. That's not what we do here on the program. What we're trying to do is shed some light on people that are taking advantage of other people and their nonsense and their tomfoolery. If you go on YouTube, type in Peter Popoff, and watch this guy. He's out of control. I mean, the stuff that he comes up with, the stuff that he does, he's healing people, he's making people walk out of wheelchairs. Does he
lay the hands on folks?
He lays hands, he screams like a cartoon character.
I'm going to look this guy up.
Oh, he's incredible. He apparently he dances like a malfunctioning robot. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. But anyway, he'll even tell people, I have miracle money and it's going to be transferred into your account supernaturally.
Get out of here.
And basically, his abilities were so unbelievable that in the 80s, you've heard of James Randi.
Oh, yeah, the amazing Randi.
Well,
he's a debunker.
Right, he's a famous skeptic.
Yes.
So Randi infiltrated one of Popoff's faith-healing revivals, apparently, and monitored the airwaves, discovering that Popoff's wife was feeding him information about the audience through a wireless earpiece, which reminds me of Fletch. You remember Fletch?
Fletch, yes.
With Chevy Chase?
Yes.
and it had a young Arlie Ermy in it as the pastor. Do you remember that?
I don't remember Arlie Ermy being in it.
Yes.
Was he really?
He was the pastor of this church. And the same thing happened. He had an earpiece in.
Okay.
And somebody backstage was feeding him information.
Well.
And Fletch found out about this, and then he started feeding him random information into his earpiece.
Well, there was a movie called starring Steve Martin. I think it was called Leap of Faith, which detailed the kind of a similar, like a faith healer thing.
Right.
And I think Deborah Winger was in it, which I had a thing for Deborah Winger back in the 80s.
Wasn't she an officer and a gentleman?
She was, yes. Right. And anyway, in the movie, when there was like a revival, like a tent revival,
right?
And when people used to come to see this faith healer, on their way in, they would get pulled. Random people would get pulled aside by the workers, and they go, "Oh, why are you here today?" And they would record where they sat down, and as you said, they would be feeding information to the guy, and then he would miraculously know what was wrong with you.
Right.
It's all a scam.
Well, what Popoff would do is, as you came into one of his his gatherings, he'd make you fill out something called a prayer card.
Of course.
And so the prayer card had your name, address, where you're from, and basically any medical issues that you had. And that was the prayer card.
Why would he need that?
Well, so he could pray for you.
Oh, he needs that, huh?
And then the wife would get it, and then
because God doesn't know what's wrong with you.
She would pass on the information to him. But
sure.
Anyway, so he was exposed as a fraud, obviously. So you think he would disappear into
you would think
into the ether, but unfortunately he didn't. And he basically only gave him some other ideas to basically beguile desperate people. He came up with a scheme that was basically sells debt-curing prayers for regular installments of cash.
Of course.
That gradually increase over time. So people who have participated in this would be an amazing. They would receive holy
money,
holy debt-curing talismans, bottled special magical bottled water. Pictures of things with money on it and things of that sort.
And it would magically give them money.
Exactly.
So they got to spend money to make money.
That's right.
Okay.
So Peter Popoff.
Boy, that sounds great.
Not a good man.
No, and as you said, preying on people who are believers. That's the lowest of the low.
Right. And actually, just quickly, there's a gentleman. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is called John of God. And he's a Brazilian faith healer.
No.
Supposedly this guy's real. People fly from all over the world to go there, and there's and he lays hands on people and he cures people. I don't know much about it, but I heard he's a pretty interesting character.
All right. Does he charge you money?
I don't think so.
Well, that's the other thing. Just making the full circle around into the paranormal world and paranormal investigations. Just in the limited time that we were doing it many years ago, some of the people that would call you and want our group to do an investigation there was not because a lot of them were just because they had weird stuff going on in their house, but some of them wanted you to tell the world that their place was haunted for monetary gain.
Right.
Like for instance, we ran into a lady who was turning her old house into a restaurant, and she wanted us to say that it was haunted so that she could market it as a haunted restaurant.
Sure.
So that's the same type of thing. They don't really care about the truth. They want it's all for money.
That's right. The last thing I want to talk about, and this has nothing to do with the paranormal. However, well, I guess it kind of does in a way. So it does kind of have a bit of a paranormal tie-in, and it goes to, as we stated earlier, people who latch on to these strange beliefs. And in this case, it actually causes people some harm. So it's a group of or a belief system, and these people are called breatharians. Have you heard of this?
No.
And breatharians meaning from breath, like breathing.
Yeah, but it sounds like something like a dangerous sexual practice that people could be into.
I'm a breatharian.
I'm a breatharian. Let me hold my hand over your mouth.
Going back page or Craigslist. I'm looking for some breatharians
that's a risky,
to frolic about with.
Risky behavior.
No, these are people who believe that all the nutrients and sustenance that you need comes from the air around you.
And I'm assuming that they all die within a couple of weeks of adhering to this.
That's the interesting part of this, right? So there's people that claim that they don't eat or drink ever. And the only times that they ever eat or drink is like maybe if they're in a social setting and they kind of want to fit in and that sort of thing. But they rely on chi, and they rely on energy, the energy of the earth and Mother Earth. And all these
this is physically impossible.
Well, not according to these people.
Okay.
They think that you don't have to eat or drink as long as you're in the right state of mind.
Okay.
So they did one of these ladies that proclaims to be a breatharian.
She was closet eating.
Exactly. So she proclaimed this and claimed that she lived by this mantra.
She had cheeseburgers in her pockets.
So what did? They monitored her for a couple days.
Of course.
And she didn't eat or drink anything
for a couple days.
But after the 2 or 3 days, the interviewer came in and goes, "You look like you're going to die."
Yes.
And she did. She looked horrible.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I feel great.
No, this is great.
Oh my God,
sure. This is what I always look like.
But it has actually caused some people to get sick and some people to die because they follow the word of these folks. It comes from the Eastern tradition religions, where fasting is part of their thing, but they don't fast forever.
She's got this big purse with a bunch of chicken nuggets in it. She's like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom.
And there is some scientific evidence that intermittent fasting can be helpful and can be a healthy thing to do, the way that your body reacts to not having food for short periods of time, but not for prolonged periods of time.
Right.
There was a pregnant lady on that says she doesn't eat or drink. She was like 8 months pregnant. She says she hasn't eaten or drank in years and years, and everything is fine. But yet they look like normal people. So clearly they're getting some sustenance from somewhere.
Right.
And they claim it's the air around them.
Again,
so don't do that.
You can't really adhere to this religion for long because you'll die.
Don't do that. So humans are meant to eat just like every other animal in the animal kingdom. You have to eat food.
And you have to go poo.
You have to poop. That's why we have stomachs. We have lungs to breathe air.
Everything poops. Everything.
Most things.
Everything. Every living.
Hot chicks don't.
No. Well, you never see them. It's like a unicorn.
That's right.
You don't see you don't see hot chicks going.
You look at the hottest of chicks, and you just can't see her sitting on the bowl, squatting a grumpy.
No.
And pushing hard and making noises and smelling up the joint.
But thank you for ruining everything. Anyway.
Anything else you want to add today?
Nope.
I hope we didn't piss anybody off.
I don't think we're gonna make any fans with the paranormal. But again, it's not like this is new. We've talked about some of this before because we've had a lot of negative experience with people in that. Some people are great. They're usually pretty nice, paranormal folks.
And here's the thing: don't take the paranormal stuff as religion.
Right.
Okay. Look at it from a objective point of view. You don't just because somebody says something. You don't have to latch onto it and think that it's actual gospel, okay? You can go one way or the other. Like Mike and I said, we believe in this stuff. But what we're trying to do is bring truth to it and allow credibility to take the forefront on this sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay?
And we're probably not going to have a show next week.
We're not going to have a show next week because...
We're on hiatus for a week.
I am leaving tomorrow for a week-long adventure.
Ooh, adventure!
A secret location that I shan't tell.
Undisclosed.
Maybe I'll do a live feed from wherever I am, and you guys can guess where I am.
We don't want any fans approaching you on your off time.
And I'm going to meet up with the Breatharians, and we're going to strip down and oil each other up and choke each other to death. Okay. That's all. Anything else? Just remember, the truth exists. Believe it.